I work hard to earn my pay, and I saved real big today at All-American Ford.
Hey everyone, it's Jason Savina, the marketing director for the All-American Auto Group, and this is the All-American Auto Mall and Old Bridge Updates podcast. This is episode number 27. I'm going to focus on some weekly updates and then some news in the auto world around some recent announcements with electric and EV vehicles. So last week I dedicated the episode to semiconductor chips, mostly related to the inventory levels and the chip shortage from the pandemic and production shutdowns and how it's affecting inventory and where we're at as a dealership. So if you're interested in that, you can go back to listen to that. That was episode 26. I mostly did an episode dedicated to semiconductors, which I never thought in my life I would ever have to talk about, because it's honestly a question that comes up a ton from customers and a lot of online chatter about it. Obviously, it's affecting all manufacturers across the country. So have that whole episode dedicated to that. I did also in that episode talk a little bit about the F-150 Mafia, which is this cool group that each state has its own chapter. So the F-150 Mafia, the New Jersey chapter, it has a Facebook group, over 400 members. It's a great group, guys and gals just sharing pictures of their F-150s, asking for recommendations, sharing information and everything. So very cool group. And we're allowing them to host a meeting here at All-American Ford in Old Bridge in our parking lot on Sunday, March 21st. So if you have an F-150, if you're an F-150 owner, I definitely recommend you join that Facebook group, F-150 Mafia New Jersey chapter, and hopefully we'll see you at the meetup on March 21st. Something else cool that happened this week, I was very excited about it. I'm still gushing over how the vehicle came out, but we had a customer order a Mustang Mach E first edition. So this beautiful higher trim level version of the Mach E. And they wanted to customize it and make it unique and sent it to one of our good partners, Unusual Designz in Freehold. We use them for some custom work that we can't handle in our own body shop, mostly related to vinyl wraps and anything to do with graphics and stuff like that. So the owner's great, a guy named Nick, Unusual Designz in Freehold, great place. And they do a full wrap in various colors, obviously. We've done some matte black wraps before, an Explorer that we had. I remember I fell in love with that one. I just love the look of it. It's so sleek and so clean looking. So Unusual Designz did this Mach E, and it was satin black, which is a little bit different than matte black, but it was a full satin black wrap, and pictures of it on social media, on all of our pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So check those out. I'm still obsessed with it. I really want a satin black vehicle now myself. No matter what it is, I'm just in love with the wrap job. And Unusual Designz also put a clear ceramic coating on it to protect it from the elements. And also they did something cool with the emblems and made them red gloss, which was pretty cool. So the red gloss emblems with the satin black wrap really pop and really made it look nice. So I'm kind of obsessed with that Mach E. Sad to see it go. It was a sold order. But once we start to get a little bit more inventory in stock of the Mach E, specifically a black one or a dark gray one, I think we are going to send it to Unusual Designz to have them wrap it and replicate that design so that we could stock it and have it here on the showroom. So I'll obviously be posting a lot about that when we get the chance to do that. So I look forward to that. And then I wanted to quickly go over some February sales results and numbers. As an auto mall location here, we did fairly well. I think the auto industry, continues to bounce back, but continues to fight the inventory shortage, again, related to the semiconductor chip and then other production issues. So For Subaru, we did very well again. I believe we ranked number one in our district again, so that was good. Ford, of course, we stayed as the number one Ford dealership here in Old Bridge for the state of New Jersey, so that was great. So overall good. Obviously, our commercial trucks are still doing extremely well, which is good to see. I actually use the commercial business as a gauge for our economy in some sorts. I feel, when our economy is doing well, I see a lot more business owners coming in and growing their fleet and stuff. Obviously, COVID changed a little bit of that in the sense that although some parts of the economy weren't doing well and a lot of small businesses were hurting, a lot of them had to flip to delivery services and pickup and stuff like that. So fleet-wise, depending on the industry, obviously, some of them did have the opportunity to increase their fleet. So our commercial trucks remain strong. Jordan tow trucks remain extremely strong. We've quickly risen to the number 3 Jordan dealership in the country out of 65 plus, I think now. So, we've only had that dealership for a few years now, and already we're tops in the nation in terms of in the top 3. So tow trucks continue to do very well for us here. So selling a lot of them. And people are coming in from all different states for them too. It's pretty crazy. In terms of Ford Motor Company and their sales, they released their press release based on February numbers, and they said for their SUVs, it was one of the best Februarys they've had in 20 years. The Bronco Sport being an SUV in that category, and the Mustang Mach E as well added to that and kind of helped with that sales goal, I guess. So both the Bronco Sport and Mustang Mach-E are doing well. That remains the case here at our dealership. Mach-E, I think the inventory levels are still low in terms of stock units, but the sold units are coming in and we're delivering them. But once the actual stock units come in, it'll be interesting to see how well it does, because so far the days to turn on this inventory is pretty great so far. So that definitely attributed to the Ford brand SUVs. And then an interesting stat in that report from Ford was that 70% of the Mustang Mach-E buyers so far have been from competitive brands. So it's not, so only 30% of the Mustang Mach-E buyers are previous Ford owners. So I thought that was kind of interesting that competitive brands are jumping to Ford for this kind of special and different and unique model. So just wanted to call that out from the reports. So that's kind of some of our weekly updates. Now I'll touch on EVs and electrics quick, and we'll go from there. All right, so EVs and electrics, I've talked about it a lot, honestly, in previous episodes. I had full episode dedicated to the review of the Mach-E when we first got it in, so go back to listen to that. I talked a lot about the intricate details of the Mach-E and the features and stuff. But this week I did kind of want to draw attention to it again and bring it back as the episode headliner, in the sense that a couple news articles came out from, the auto world in terms of different manufacturers coming out and saying that they wanted their companies to be all electric by a certain date. And the big one in the headlines, although they're not as big in the United States as they once were, globally, I think they're still huge. So obviously Volvo, very well known. They had a lot of headlines this week in the auto papers and websites that they want to be fully electric by 2030 and move most of their car sales online, which that second part, they're still going to have dealerships. They're still going to have test drives and stuff. But obviously they're talking about a bigger focus on online, which that's for every manufacturer. That's every single dealership too, especially with COVID, really sped all that up. We've been doing online sales forever, way before those third-party used car centers came and started trashing dealerships in their commercials, like Carvana and stuff like that, saying that they do it differently than the dealerships. They don't. We've been offering online sales forever, home delivery free, home delivery forever, and their fees are all the same. So anyways, that's a tangent about third parties. I'll get into more of that in a later episode, definitely. But the whole online buying thing is nothing new to anybody. So they just do a good job of trashing dealerships in their commercials about it. And customers, I don't think they were used to it pre-COVID as much, especially in this region, but it's come a long way since. So the Volvo headline too, I thought was interesting because a lot of them too, the manufacturers like Jaguar, Land Rover came out, Ford, obviously, the European division, actually an article came out that they want to be all electric by 2032 and that they're investing $1 billion in an electric facility in Germany for their global campaign and European campaigns. So, it's nothing new, and all manufacturers doing it. I've been talking about it for a while. People just have to embrace it and accept it. An interesting thing for me, though, when I read that headline of 2030, like when you really think about it, that's only 9 years away. When you read it, I don't know, at least for me, I felt like, that's way further in the future, but that's really 9 years. And 9 years from now, the way technology is growing, everything's going to change. So definitely not surprising, but I think there's a lot of people still kind of stuck with their gas engines and the need for them. And, they'll never want to embrace all electric or anything like that. So I think those people are going to be left behind in a sense. And I think everybody should start to embrace it and not have so much pushback towards it because it's happening. And you see that with all the manufacturers. You saw that with the Super Bowl commercials, which I talked about in one of my episodes, how a couple of manufacturers really wanted to emphasize that, and they spent a lot of money during the Super Bowl to get that point across about all electric. Going back to that article I read about Volvo, basically their chief technology officer was quoted in that article of saying that there is no long-term future for cars with internal combustion engines, which again, that's the way it's going. And I think a lot of people realize that and know it, but I think also a lot of people hearing that will like cringe and be like, I'm never, not putting gas in my vehicle. And again, I thought that was interesting that, there's such a direct quote. I haven't really seen that from a manufacturer where they're just completely against combustion engines like that. But it's happening. So people got to get used to it. And I like the position Ford is in terms of theirs. Obviously, the Mach E is already out. It's already won a lot of awards. I've talked about it before. It's a great vehicle. It really is. And I think it's going to do well as production kicks up for it. And I think they're a little bit ahead of the game. There are some other manufacturers out there with all electric vehicles, not many good ones. So it's definitely a work in progress for a lot of these manufacturers, but I like Ford's position right now. And then I talked about it on its own episode as well, but the 2022 E-Transit is coming to dealerships later this year. So we're only, I don't want to say a few months, but a little bit more than a few months away from seeing an all-electric transit van. So now you're getting into the commercial truck space and all that stuff. So Ford's, I think they're ahead of it. The hybrid F-150 is literally supposed to be at our dealership this week. We're still waiting for our first one, but should be this week, if not early next week. And then an all-electric F-150 is not that far off in terms of, Ford producing one. So, and they've talked about an all-electric Mustang as well, the original Mustang, the sports car, not the Mach E. So it's happening. It's going to happen with all models. I like Ford's position. I like where they're at. I like the style and the combination of, design and power and just really technology in it, I think has come a long way with Ford. So that's my little spiel on electric vehicles, EVs. And hope you enjoyed the updates. I'll have a lot more updates next week about the Mafia event as we get the F-150 Mafia event as we get closer to it. And I'm looking to have one of our managers be a guest next week. I got to try and schedule that. And we'll go from there. So thanks for listening.
Well, everyone can